The brand new Friedman IRD Preamp. Does it rock? Let's find out, dive in and have some fun with this amplifier. Because this amplifier has a lot of character and I think it's really cool. And let's start with a rockin' demo using my ESP LTD Phoenix Deluxe 1000. Take a listen. Alright, that sounded great. So in my opinion, the Friedman IRD Preamp has a lot of character and mojo. Now you might be familiar with the Friedman IRX Preamp pedal, which looks very similar. So they're basically kind of identical in terms of the layout, but they do sound quite different. And I also reviewed the IRX on my channel, so check that out if you're interested. Now the IRD in terms of the tone is more based on the Friedman Dirty Shirley or twin sister amplifier, which is basically Dave Friedman's take on the classic JTM 45 circuit, but then a modded version of that. So again, just as basically all the Friedman amplifiers, it's a modded British circuit. And the IRX is really cool. It kind of does that BE100 sound. And this one has a more fat and vintage flavor to it. But yeah, it's basically a full tube preamplifier that you can use to go direct, or you can also plug it into your power amplifier and all that good stuff. The IRD has two independently switchable channels, as you can see over here. This is channel 1 and this is channel 2. Each channel has a volume control, a gain control, an independent 3-band EQ, a boost volume control, as well as a 2-way bright switch and a 3-way structure switch. And for the boost, you can dial in the amount of gain for each channel on the boost with these little controls on the side here. And you can basically use the boost to take this to the next level in terms of the aggression and amount of gain, as you heard in the intro. And which was pleasantly surprising to me is that this amplifier has plenty of gain on tap in case you need it. And that's not always the case with vintage flavored amplifiers, so I like that. You can also load IRs directly onto the preamp, and you can select between 3 different IRs on each channel with the little cab IR switch over here. So that's 6 IRs in total that you can load into the hardware. Of course, it also comes with some stock IRs when you buy it. And with the foot switches on the bottom, you can switch between channel 1, channel 2, and this switch over here enables the boost. On the back of the pedal, we have the input jack and the high quality FX loop, the balanced out, with a ground lift switch over here, which is handy, a headphones out, a MIDI in, and a USB port, as well as the power port. And just as with the IRX, you can hook this up to your computer via USB, and then with the editor on the computer, tweak some of the settings like the IR and boost, bypass, and switch the channels and stuff like that. But you can't tweak the actual controls, so the potentiometers on the PC editor. You'll have to do that on the hardware itself. Again, technically, this is a tube preamplifier, but it also has built-in power amp simulation, just as with the IRX and also just as with the Soldano Astro 20. And that power amp simulation DSP helps it to sound like a full-fledged amplifier, and that's really cool. You can even choose between 3 presence settings and 3 thumb settings for each channel to fine-tune the power amp sound response. Now, both the channels are basically identical, but you can really dial them into taste. And you can dial them in to sound pretty drastically different, and the 3-way structure switch over here really helps with that. For the intro, I used the highest gain setting, which is with the switch to the top setting. And that gives you a nice rock sound with plenty of gain on tap. For the lowest gain setting, you have to set it to the middle position. And with that setting, you get a nice broken up clean tone or a nice vintage crunch. And I want to try that with my Les Paul Custom on the neck pickup. Let's take a listen. Nice! Those were some sweet edge of breakup tones right there. Really cool. I also have my Walrus Audio Fundamentals reverb pedal in the effects loop, by the way, for a little bit of ambience. And as I mentioned, I have the structure switch set to the lowest gain setting, which is the middle position, and the bright switch to the up position, which is the brightest setting. And that's the setting that I prefer to use all the time, basically, probably because of the fact that I primarily use humbucker guitars. In the power amp settings, I have the presence set full, just as with the intro, and the thump to the middle. And those are also basically my preferred settings for all my little demos in this video. And just as in the intro, I used an OwnHammer Rockbox IR, which I loaded into the pedal via the computer app. And I used the V30EN 1999A Modern 3 IR, which sounds excellent with this pedal. I'll also let you guys hear the stock IRs in a minute when I do the dialing in. So we've tried the highest gain structure as well as the lowest, and now I want to try the middle setting. So a nice vintage crunch setting, basically, with the switch set to the bottom. And I'm going to use my Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s for that with the Duncan JB in the bridge. Same power amp settings, same IR and all that stuff. Let's take a listen. Great. I really like the fatness, warmth in the mids, and the overall texture. I think it sounds really cool. Now the IRX is also excellent and it does modern stuff really well, but I just really like the character and fatness and richness that the IRD has to offer. And I think a lot of people are really gonna dig this thing. So yeah, I think that I prefer the mojo that this one has to offer. Because like I said, they do sound pretty different. For something like metal in general, I would recommend the IRX because it's just more tight and modern sounding by default. But that's not to say that you can't get a nice modern tone out of the IRD, perhaps with an external boost or overdrive pedal in front of it. So yeah, maybe I'll need a Friedman Dirty Shirley one day, or the Twin Sister, because if this amplifier sounds that great, the full-fledged amplifiers must sound incredible as well. Now I'm gonna grab my Les Paul Standard 60s again, and then dial in all the controls and do some fiddling, just so you guys can hear how all the controls react and how they affect the tone, how the boost affects the tone, stuff like that. And I'm just gonna play some really simple chords, so we're not gonna focus on the playing, but we're gonna focus on the sound of this pedal. Check it out. right, really nice. So that was the Friedman IRD preamp pedal. I really like it. Yeah, it has a very nice character and it does a lot of cool things. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to know. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like and subscribe down below, as that really helps the channel out. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching and hope to see you soon. Cheers.